Person one loves person two. Guess what? Shenanigans ensue. Person one hates person two. Guess what? Still shenanigans ensue. Person one fake dates person two. Guess what? You guessed it. Shenanigans ensue. Co-host one reports to co-host two. The name of the show? Shenanigans ensue. Yeah. Hello, I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Jane, and welcome to Shenanigans Ensue.
A podcast where you used to be warped and twisted and hilarious, and I mean that as a compliment.
Each episode will watch a rom-com and discuss its merits as a member of the rom-com genre.
We'll cover well-worn classics, hidden gems, and everything in between.
We'll give you our unsolicited opinion on every trope, caper, and flim-flam the film used, or maybe abused.
And of course, the shenanigans!
This episode, we will be covering the 80s classic, Say Anything.
Now, if you haven't seen Say Anything or think you know nothing about it, I'm here to assure you, you do.
I am ashamed to admit that I have not seen this film before we had to watch it for this episode.
Yeah, I didn't even know anything about it until Jane mentioned that this is the origin of the boombox over your head at the window trope.
Yes, it's such an iconic image, even if you have no context for it.
I was reading about it, and it turns out the actors hated that scene. They felt it was so awkward.
Really?
That's why both of them look so uncomfortable. And the director insisted that they needed to do it because he was saying that it was a modern-day Romeo at the balcony. And he really felt that it was going to become an iconic scene. And he was right.
He was right.
But nobody wanted to do it.
That's fascinating.
Right?
I'm familiar with how this sort of plays out with the end of Easy A, where they have like a modernization on this. So like he rocks up to Emma Stone's house with like a little Bluetooth speaker and they ride off together on this motorized lawnmower that you can sit on. And that happens like right at the end of the film, you know, wrapping it up with the happily ever after, which is where I thought this plays out.
What's fascinating about this being the origin of this trope is that it doesn't work.
No.
No.
Nothing comes of it.
And it turns out when they filmed this, it was at the end of all the other shooting. The movie was done.
And so they convinced the actors to do it.
Truly, it took convincing.
What I do get from an actor's perspective of like not wanting to go through with the scene is it doesn't have an emotionally satisfying end to it. So it would feel awkward, him just standing there with the boombox. Diane turns around, like hides under the covers.
Yeah.
And nothing further happens, even though it is so iconic.
Yeah. Also, what a quintessentially 80s film.
Absolutely.
Between the cars, the plot that they gave us, the pacing of it. So interesting.
And the fashion, the camera angles,
yeah,
the music.
Love it.
Very of its time.
I guess with that all said, jump into that plot synopsis?
Let's do it.
Lloyd and Diane have just graduated high school.
Diane is set to go to England when the summer ends, and Lloyd's dad wants him to join the army.
Lloyd asks Diane out to a graduation party, and shenanigans ensue. I really do love the setup. I think they nailed it.
It's a great setup, and it's interesting how it plays out as well. We have two students who are from completely different worlds, even though they attended the same school, and they bake it in with the fact that Diane has done a bunch of college classes already, so she feels like she doesn't really know her fellow student body.
Yeah, and they really nail all of that exposition as well. When she goes to the party, everyone says hi to Lloyd, and everyone looks at her like she's lost.
But happy to see her as well.
Happy to see her, but confused.
Yeah, so many people say, I'm so glad you came. How did Lloyd convince you to come to the party?
Honestly, the thing that I find really cool about this movie is they begin at the end. Most high school films are about the lead up into graduation. This starts with Diane's valedictorian speech, essentially.
Yeah.
And that really interesting, tiny, tiny little slice of life that is that 2 months of summer.
In doing this, they made it easier plot-wise to just account for the fact that they have all of this free time.
Yeah.
So you could really pay attention to the relationship stuff.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know when the best time to bring this up is, so I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off.
Okay.
But the dad being involved in an entire tax fraud
What
scheme
the
as,
hell?
like, the B plot is insane.
Wild. Absolutely bananas. And it comes out of nowhere. They're just having dinner, entertaining some people. Lloyd has been invited as well. And then this guy just shows up at the door and says, "You're under investigation for like these 3 years," and it changes the whole tone and plot of the movie.
And it's really fascinating to me because it's not the current 3 years.
Yeah.
He did a tax fraud for those 3 years when she was 12, 13, and 14 and then stopped. I don't think so.
Maybe those are the only years he flagged. I don't know.
The only 3 years they could pin him on.
That he was taking like super extra. I don't know.
Yeah, after those first 3 years, he really honed in on the skill of tax fraud and was able to make it absolutely imperceptible to the IRS. And so
Yeah.
he gets away with the other 4 because of his skill set.
And what is so bizarre to me about it is when Diane eventually finds out, his reasoning for it is like, "I wanted to make sure that when you came back from England, you'd have enough money so you'd never need help from anyone." And I'm just like, my guy.
It seems like none of it was necessary. Like, their home is very nice. They're clearly doing very well. And the fact that he's hiding a ton of his tax fraud in expensive purchases and nice items for the house.
A jukebox.
Yeah, that's not necessary. If you're doing that well, you didn't need to go through all this.
It was so confusing, especially because Diane is clearly highly intelligent. She's won this prestigious scholarship to go study in the UK. Like, she's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
It's the 80s.
It's not even that expensive anyway, like, truly. Inflation hadn't caught up.
Right? She's not gonna be in a bunch of college debt.
Yeah, hilarious.
She's got way more of a head start than anyone else her age. Like, she's fine.
I can't.
And then the plot, it was played seriously. It wasn't played for laughs.
Right.
There was no shenanigans within this. I mean, sometimes you have instances where, and I'm not saying the dad is a villain in this story, it's more complicated than that, but where the villain gets their comeuppance and they get their just desserts.
Oh, yeah. And we all have a good laugh about it.
Yeah.
They're twirling the mustache evil.
Yes.
Like, very obtuse.
Yeah, tonally very different. You know, like Jennifer Coolidge in A Cinderella Story.
Mm-hmm.
Tonally.
We did it funny.
Yes, exactly. Which the movie needed. Imagine how much of a drag it would have been if they handled this super seriously.
Yeah. I mean, we have movies like that, right? We've got Matilda, and
Yeah.
the only way that that becomes tolerable is because she can do magic. Like, you have to cut the seriousness.
Yeah, we need some levity, folks.
Yeah.
If this is the kind of film that you're choosing to make, you gotta put that levity in there.
That makes it extra confusing, too, because it starts so hot
Yeah.
with her at the high school party, how well that's going. Their dates are going great.
Mm-hmm.
You think that she's just gonna, like, launch herself into her life at this school in London.
Yeah.
And the major conflict is gonna be them having to say goodbye to each other or figure something out.
Yes.
But nope.
Nope.
Tax fraud.
Surprise. And I was expecting maybe some more drama with the dad being like, you throwing your life away.
Same.
Over this guy who's just like into kickboxing.
Yeah, and the way they planted the information of the tax fraud and the way that the dad played it, I love what they did. But I was very much like, ooh, it's a mystery. Did he tax fraud? I don't know. We don't have all of the information. And then it was just very clear,
Yes.
oh, yes, he 100% did that. He knows he
Yeah.
did that. But the lying had me feeling like this was some mystery.
Maybe he's being framed.
Right?
Maybe it's his partner at the old age home.
It's a misunderstanding. We filed our taxes under the wrong tax code. I don't know.
Something. But no,
No, just regular on-purpose fraud.
he is straight up guilty. Cut and dry. He's in an orange jumpsuit at the end of the film.
And he started smoking,
Yes.
presumably to cope with the stress.
That was hilarious, that detail. We've never seen this at any other point.
Unbelievable.
So funny. So not only does it shift the tone of the movie, it also shifts your attention from the couple whose
Yeah.
story we're following. Because I think the acting is really great in this film. I
Yeah.
think there are a lot of very funny moments. There are a lot of very tender moments.
I really love the story they're telling.
It's a great story.
But once the tax fraud gets introduced, it's not a rom-com anymore.
No.
It's a coming-of-age film.
Not even, because it's more about the drama between her and the dad.
Oh, I say coming of age because for me it felt like the realization that your parents aren't perfect.
I see what you're saying.
Her going through that journey.
So if I went in knowing that this was more of a drama than a rom-com, I think that would have contributed to my enjoyment of it more.
Yeah. There's clearly a very important reason why, at the age of 12, she decided she wanted to live with her father and not her mother in the divorce.
Right.
And then to come to the realization that you chose poorly,
Oof, that's rough.
and not necessarily even that you chose wrong.
Yeah.
This is the discovery for her that she's got nobody.
I would have liked if they gave a little bit more of a reason as to why she didn't choose the mum.
Yeah.
Because we see the mum later.
She seems perfectly fine.
She has a new boyfriend or husband or something. And, doesn't have anything nice to say about Diane's dad.
But she's right.
Well, now that we've spoken about fraud for quite a bit,
Yeah.
shall we hit those tropes?
We've got music doing the most.
The most.
We have Fish Out of Water, and it takes the form of both nerd versus popular and the haves and have-nots.
Yeah.
And we've also got Messy Love Lives. This guy goes on a whole journey. Wow.
It's so messy.
We have Best Friends with the guy exclusively because he has really good girlfriends.
He does.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh God, I wrote this down too. Girl, put on your shoes.
Girl, put them on. Please.
There is glass on the sidewalk, girl.
Girl.
And then we've got a montage light.
Very light, but it's still there, so I had to mark it.
Yeah. I want to talk about girl, put on your shoes.
Oh my gosh. Girl.
Girl.
Put on your shoes.
Presumably,
Girl.
she spent the entire night at the party walking in those heels.
Yeah.
She then is in the car with Lloyd, who is an angel, and decides to drive a drunk guy home, even though he doesn't remember where he lives. He's that drunk. So they're driving around the city of Seattle, waiting for him to recognize something until they finally accidentally pull up in front of his house. So presumably, she spent the last, 3 hours in the car,
Yeah.
seated.
Ah.
Why did you need to now, about to cross the finish line? Why now do you need to take your shoes off and walk from like the 7-Eleven home?
Especially because you're like, no, we can walk from here. So
So you could have gotten in the car instead
Yeah.
of walk barefoot?
what are we doing?
No.
What's the plan here?
Girl, put on your shoes.
Absolutely not. He kicked glass out of your way in the parking lot. It is not safe to be barefoot.
And they truly made that a plot point, which I guess is the reason why they made her take her shoes off. But girl,
Girl, don't do it.
that's also not enough of a reason to decide that somebody loves you, that they saw the glass on the street and told you. Not a strong indicator of love.
It's just basic human decency.
Yeah.
Also, the parking lot is gigantic. It's early in the morning. They walk right up to the glass, and you couldn't just walk around the glass. It's a big parking lot.
Right? The second I realized there's glass on the ground, if I did take my shoes off, I'm putting them back on.
Yeah, you don't know how far that's spread.
Yeah.
And if someone else walked through it,
You can't see that tiny little sliver.
yeah. And it's so hard to get glass splinters out of your feet.
Girl.
Girl, no. I absolutely need to talk about music doing the most.
Yep. Go.
I mean, just in general, it's going really hard, even if there aren't lyrics, to tonally tell you what's going on throughout the film.
Yeah.
Which makes it really feel like of the 80s. Some of the highlights are Goodbye, My Love, playing as they're getting ready for graduation. And then one of the students, before Diane's valedictorian speech, is doing a very passionate and bad rendition of The Greatest Love of All.
It's so bad, but so enthusiastic. And the fact that the student body is clapping and into it instead of mortified.
They are on his side.
This is actually the most healthy high school that's ever existed.
It just adds to it being super endearing that the crowd is on his side.
Yeah.
Because it's not good.
It's really quite bad. I cannot stress that enough.
Pop off, King.
It's giving karaoke on a Wednesday.
Then, after Lloyd calls and Diane's dad takes a message, he's sort of singing to himself, Ricky, don't lose that number. I just thought it was very funny. And then one of Lloyd's friends, Corey, has made up 65 love songs for this guy named Joe. And Joe is a scrub. Joe sucks.
Girl, that's another one.
Girl.
No, I hate it. Oh, God.
Some choice quotes from the songs she's made up are, he likes girls with names like Ashley.
She then names a bunch of other names, too.
Yeah.
So weird.
Okay, Joe gets around. And then another one is, Joe lies when he cries. If it's in your song and you know it already, get away from this guy.
Truly.
Then after Diane breaks up with Lloyd, he goes and meets up with his friends and they just start rapping like, Lloyd, Lloyd, null and void. Very crazy. The last one that I'm going to mention in this is, of course, the boombox moment, which we've touched on already. But the song that's playing is, I came back to the place where you are.
It's also the song that they had sex to in the car.
Yes, it is. Musical callback. Music truly doing the most. I cannot stress this enough.
We touched a little bit on it already, but I'd love to go a little bit more into the nerd versus popular and the have versus have not.
Yeah.
The Lloyd situation is really interesting. His father being in the military and the parents taking off his senior year.
Essentially abandoning him.
I know sometimes you don't have a lot of control over that. Thankfully, his sister was old enough that she's already on her own, so she can have him stay with her for the final year so he can finish high school. But that's so weird to me. And assuming your father's been in the military this entire time, you'd think he'd have some sort of say over where he gets to be, at least making some sort of argument for postponing some new posting.
Yeah. And also, Lloyd mentions that he's lived overseas with his family. Presumably, he went to school when he was stationed overseas. So that was also kind of weird to me.
I'm assuming that he must have been in high school in the States for a number of years. Because he's too good of friends with people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would have loved a little bit more information about all of that, but it really kind of sets it up as this kid is doing the best he can and doesn't really have a whole lot to work with.
Yeah.
I also just love how dedicated he is to kickboxing.
The sport of the future.
Yes, the sport of the future. He's been teaching kickboxing. He works out with his little nephew. They're so freaking cute together.
It's adorable.
One of my favorite things is him trying to explain kickboxing to the father. He's come to pick up Diane, and he says to the father, I know you don't know me, but I assure you that I'm very responsible, and I'll take good care of her. You don't need to entertain me. I do kickboxing. Have you heard of kickboxing? I can tell by your face that you haven't. I'm going to tell you all about the sport of the future, and I promise I'll have her back at a reasonable time. Good night.
Yeah.
There's so many things that he says that are just absolutely hilarious, but the I can tell by your face that you don't know about kickboxing is the funniest thing I've heard in a long time.
The sport of the future. And Diane is an interesting character as well as it pertains to this trope because she's not shunned socially. It's more that she's so highly intelligent that she's putting her academics and studies before socializing and making that a priority.
Yeah.
So she's not the typical nerd that we see in films like this.
Yeah. It is very interesting to me how snooty the father is being about their class status in comparison to Lloyd, especially given the fact that none of that is real
Yeah.
in reality.
That he's a criminal.
Yeah.
Straight up.
for unnecessary reasons.
Yeah.
You have a nursing home.
That's what I was going to say. The fact that he's stealing from old people makes it even more egregious. Like, it's just bad in general, but who you are stealing from is crazy.
Yeah, you're getting paid from insurance and stuff. If there's a problem, you're billing insurance wrong then.
Or you handling your expenses poorly.
You should be doing well.
Your daughter is working there for free.
Yeah.
Like, she's volunteering there.
Crazy.
Oh, I think we can talk about the best friends briefly as well.
Yeah.
As you've mentioned, Lloyd, very unusually for the time especially, has a group of 3 friends who are girls.
Yeah.
And they seem to have a very healthy relationship. Not a single one of them is in love with Lloyd. That's not a plot point.
How refreshing.
Girls and boys can be friends. How novel.
Yeah, and there's no sexual tension between them. They're
None.
just friends.
And they're supportive of each other, and they call each other out.
Yeah.
It's just really nice to see.
And it's good that he has that,
Yeah.
because once he does go through the weird breakup and he tiptoes into incel land,
Yeah.
I'm very glad that he kind of is like, oh no, this is insane. I'd rather go talk to my girlfriends.
Yeah. He's on the precipice of taking the red pill.
Literally, this guy found a group of incel red pillars before that was a term.
Yeah.
I don't know how he found them, but he did.
It was very funny how that was shot, though, because the camera pans over each one of the guys, and they each say something that is so misogynistic and unhinged.
And then to pan the camera over to Lloyd himself and have him say, well, if this is all true, then why are you guys out here on a Saturday night instead of finding dates?
Yeah.
He just calls them fully out, which I really appreciated about this film.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, no, it's by choice.
Okay.
Sure. I suppose it's also aided by the fact that he has an older sister, that he has such great relationships with other women.
Yeah. And like the quote from the beginning, she's great.
Yeah.
The only thing that took away some of her greatness was a guy that was bad to her.
Exactly. Well, if you have nothing else with the tropes.
No, I'm ready for the
shenanigans.
shenanigans.
Right at the top, starting so strong, we see Diane practicing her graduation speech in the car with her dad on the way to the graduation ceremony.
Yeah.
She makes a joke about not wanting to enter adulthood, and the dad thinks it's so funny. And Diane is like, do you think everyone will get it? And he's like, yeah, it's hilarious. And I love that they play it out like this. And she makes a joke, and it's crickets, and you just hear the dad laughing so hard.
Oh boy. She didn't need to be funny. She hits home really hard and endears herself to the entire student body with her honesty and vulnerability.
Yeah.
I also just love the fact that during her giving the speech, they show the dad in the audience. They go back to her. They go back to the audience. Everyone's got camcorders out, and it's those big ones from the 80s.
That was so funny. I love that visual gag.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to seeing it with cell phones. And it's like, nope, this was a thing with any kind of technology.
Yep.
Human nature is consistent.
People wanted to record these moments.
Yeah. Also, at the top of the film, like the graduation is finished.
Oh, God, I love this part.
Everyone's milling around with their loved ones and classmates. And Lloyd goes, take a picture of me with her. Her being Diane.
But he doesn't ask for a picture. No. She gave the valedictorian speech.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that weird.
I loved your speech. Can I get a picture with you?
Yeah, and you've established that they've hung out, even though it was just that one time.
She doesn't remember him, though, so I don't blame him for that.
Still, that's better than what he actually does. To be like, hi, do you remember me? We hung out, give her some context clues. But instead, he jumps up behind her as she's turning to point at the car her dad got her or something. And that's the picture.
Yep.
So funny.
I love the way they filmed it. Nailed
Because
it.
you get the snapshot.
Yeah, they freeze in the moment.
Oh, so dumb.
Oh, speaking of Lloyd being a goofball, once we get to the apartment that he's staying in with his sister, they establish their relationship beautifully. They establish Lloyd's relationship with his nephew beautifully. And then when he needs to make a phone call, he says, I'll be in my office, and goes to the bathroom, which is honestly one of the funniest things to me.
Because for a moment I was like, wait, he has a whole office? And And then the bathroom. That was very funny.
Oh, gosh. And then speaking of the phone call, his frantic phone call energy.
He needed to chill.
Please
He
stop
was making
moving
me
around.
so frantic.
Please stand still. I love the conversation. She says, it's Diane. He's like, oh, so you remember me? She's like, well, you said it was the guy from the mall and I'm calling back.
Yeah.
His persistence to getting to the date, while I don't condone pushing, a no is a no. She says, I'm really busy, so him checking in on every date was really funny.
It's a fine line, right? It brings up How I Met Your Mother, Barney Stinson's Dahmer Dobler effect, like something is cute or creepy depending on how you feel about the person.
Yeah.
She didn't say no, but she was also kind of giving excuses.
Yeah, she was dancing around it.
Yeah. It wasn't an enthusiastic yes. Even though afterwards she said she's really glad she went to the party and she had a great time and everything. Also, wow, dude, way to not quake in the face of rejection.
Yeah.
Because he just pushed on through that.
And that's where I'm not upset with the way that he did it, because it's one thing if you're like, you're busy. Yeah, really? You're busy this whole entire weekend. You don't have a single hour free? Really? That could be an approach plenty of people will and have taken.
Yeah.
And his is more like, okay, Saturday? Maybe you want to come to this thing instead? No? This guy throws the party every year. You can't miss the graduation party. Can I drive you to the party?
Yeah.
It's very golden retriever energy, which is kind of, for me, a big distinction, that he's not being aggressive or weird. He's just really shooting his shot, and it's this one phone call or bust.
He is shooting his shot. But yeah, it's not the worst way it could have been done at all.
Yeah, it works. It's also just high school and he's a weirdo.
It works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got like this weirdo charm. Very intense. Very high energy. I would find him exhausting.
Oh, absolutely. But some people, truly, that's what they're looking for.
Especially, I mean, she herself isn't very high energy, so they probably balance each other out very well. Mm-hmm. Speaking about the phone conversations, before he ends up on the phone with her, when he calls the dad initially, and the dad's listing all the guys who have called Diane, but by car.
Yeah. He sorts
So
them by
funny.
vehicle. I love that.
And he's like, no, I've never called her before, but if you must know, this is the car I drive.
Okay, let's talk about all of the elements of this insane graduation party.
My word.
Right off of the bat, everyone knows Lloyd.
Yeah.
And also, the guy who's throwing the party isn't in high school anymore.
No, he's 22.
Who is this guy?
A former student who hosts a graduation party every year for some reason. And at 22, it's still like just okay.
But barely.
It's starting to eke towards creepy.
This is the last year that it's okay.
Yeah.
Because as a senior, some of those kids were freshmen.
Yeah.
This is it, though.
That's the cap. Like, he's finishing college. He's going to be a full-ass adult.
Where are your college friends?
And Lloyd has said he hosts this every year, and he's been previous years. So it's not just 18-year-olds that are at this party. It's younger kids as well.
It's the whole student body.
So...
Also, the fact that they spot Lloyd and this guy is just like, I need you to be key master immediately. He's got to put all the keys in a bag and determine who's too drunk to drive home.
Yeah.
Let's just say like everybody's too drunk to drive home.
Yeah.
So interesting.
The party's in full swing when Lloyd and Diane rock up.
Yeah.
So it's just honor system keymaster. But I guess that makes sense because everyone gets their keys back except for that one guy right at the end.
Which is baffling to me.
So everyone has their keys?
I went to a high school party. Everyone's wrecked because
There's no
nobody knows
way.
what their limits are yet.
Yeah, like you're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
And especially at a graduation party?
No.
No way.
We talked already about the friend that I just call Guitar Girl.
Mm-hmm.
And Stupid Joe. The fact
Stupid
that Joe says he's going to break up with that girl he came to the party with because they're going to go to different colleges and different places.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'll end it with her tonight. Also, could we have sex?
Bonkers.
He just is absolutely an opportunistic jackass. I'm so glad
He shut it down.
Guitar Girl does not take him up on the offer.
Yeah, so happy about that.
He still goes off on the side and laments that she's, quote, gonna be alone, but whatever. Like, you're better for this.
Oh, what was also wild is Joe saying he keeps all of her tapes because she's so talented. He knows she's going to be famous one day.
Oh, that's so gross. I hated that.
Ugh, that was awful.
It's like, so you're just excited to be able to say, I knew her back when she was obsessed with me or something?
Yeah, or sell it on eBay or something, even though
Ew.
eBay didn't exist at the time, but like, gross. Oh, the irony of Lloyd, who just made Jasmine and I both feel so frantic after his phone call.
Yeah.
Screaming, "You must chill."
That's to the guy who kept tackling him with the keys.
Yeah.
As soon as he gets the keymaster bag, key guy jumps him with the keys in his hand and presumably stabs him with the keys.
Oh
and then
my
just
gosh.
cannot stop tackling Lloyd for some reason.
And then, what the hell was the career counselor
I wrote that down
doing
too.
at this high school graduation party? That was
Truly.
so weird.
And, like, what freaks me out is, okay, fine, you knew he was going to be here. Let's assume that she's there just to talk to him at the party. Then why did she get out of her car and then go to the party?
So weird.
Get back in your car.
I don't think we really needed that character. We did a pretty good job establishing that Lloyd doesn't really know what he wants to do after the summer.
Yeah.
And arguably a better time for this could be at the graduation ceremony.
Yeah, you already have him there.
Go talk to him then.
Or, like, there's the two girlfriends, Guitar Girl and the Quiet Girl. They had that whole moment where Quiet Girl's like, you never let me talk. Guitar Girl's like, you're right. What did you want to say? And then Quiet Girl's like, I forgot. Have Quiet Girl be the one to say, you need to think about your future.
Yeah, we really didn't need the guidance counselor
At all.
especially at the party. College applications happen halfway through the school year
Yeah.
already.
It's done.
It's not even the 11th hour anymore. It's over,
Unless he wants to go to community college. It's fine.
which is fine.
Yeah, but that's it.
Why are we discussing this? They've left the school premises for the final time. The caps have been thrown, you know?
Yeah, I really cannot emphasize enough, though, that her going into the party freaked me out.
As it should.
Even if she's a young guidance counselor, imagine being 25 and being like, I'll go hang out with these 18-year-olds.
So weird. Anywho, that's all I have of the party. Oh, no. I have one more thing.
Yeah.
Diane's outfit is stunning.
No, it's too much. She overdressed like crazy.
So impractical.
Why did you wear white to a high school party?
White.
Everyone else is in jeans and a t-shirt. Girl.
It looked more like something you'd wear to a school dance or something.
Or cotillion.
Yes, that would have been perfect for a cotillion.
Too much.
With this headpiece in her hair and this very tight-fitting, very short white dress with these high heels that she later takes off. I mean, she looks beautiful, but it's just too much.
Yep.
Do you have anything else from the party, or are you ready to move on?
No, that's it. After the party is over and they're walking home and she needs to put her shoes on, I did find it incredibly funny that she calls him basic.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, we've been using that as an insult for way longer than I realized.
Yeah. And another thing about the car ride, as they're driving to try and drop this guy off, on the radio it's like, welcome everyone to the next 3 hours of commercial-free jams. Cut to. That was 3 hours of commercial.
So good.
That was funny. To show the passage of time.
Yeah.
So silly.
Oh, when Diane asked Lloyd to come to dinner and meet her father as well as some of the people that work at the nursing home, I think they did an incredible job setting up a lot of good information.
Yeah.
Like laying the breadcrumb of the jukebox costing, what was it, $9,000?
Mm-hmm.
As a reference to hiding the tax fraud money.
Mm-hmm.
Building in Diane's discomfort with flying, telling her screaming in a plane story.
That plane story.
And then getting banned from that airline. So funny.
And then being approached to record her.
Yeah.
So she appears in advertisements.
Because her scream was so good.
It's so funny. Another part of that plane story was like her whole inner monologue. There are babies on the plane, so the plane must be safe, but the babies are all crying, so maybe it's not okay.
That's such a funny line of reasoning,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love it. It's incredibly charming to me.
Because I'm like, yes, girl, I follow that logic.
Yeah. And then just laying the groundwork, like the two friends had talked about the fact that he's terrible with parents. And then for him to kind of just ramble about kickboxing, the sport of the future.
Again. And when the dad asks him, what do you want to do? And he's just like, I want to spend every moment with Diane. And he says it so sincerely. It's like, no, this is truly what I want to do with my life.
So good. This dad is so meddling. I really hated the way that he manipulates her into, quote, making her own decision about breaking up with him.
Yeah, that was rough.
And then the whole breakup in the car, poor guy. Up until that point, I was really on his side, and I did feel like it was a brutal breakup. The whole thing was very disappointing. The way he reacts after the fact, creepy AF.
Yikes.
Also, very high school coded. I'm willing to leave some space for that kind of behavior. They're children. But gosh, the whole journey after that point is so fascinating as well.
The whole pre-podcast that he does on his tape recorder while driving around to the places that they've been is so creepy and weird and worrying.
Unhinged.
It could have tilted into a very different direction.
Yeah.
And I was like, are we gonna get a Dahmer situation? Like, I'm a bit worried.
See, that's what I mean, though, about the high school thing. Like, I don't think that that's significantly more creepy than, like, the girl version where somebody has gotten a bunch of pictures of somebody or cut them out of the yearbook a bunch of times and made a little poster board about it and talked about all the kids they're gonna have and what kind of home they're gonna get. Like, for me, that's basically the same.
Yeah. But if an adult man were to be doing that,
right,
that would be terrifying.
No. That's for high school. That's it.
Yeah. It felt so intense and serious, and it's dark and gloomy, you know.
Yeah.
Like it was leaning a little bit more into being a bit ominous.
Tonally, yes.
Tonally. I don't mean the action itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we forgot to mention earlier, so when he does go meet up with the incels during this tour of the city, as soon as he finishes with that group of icky guys, it hard cuts to him back in the car with the tape recorder, and he just says, well, that was a mistake. And it's the funniest thing to me.
One of my final things is when Lloyd goes and visits the dad in prison and they're sitting opposite each other and like he goes to the dad, are you alright, sir? Are you okay? And the dad screams, I'm incarcerated!
So funny. I mean, besides that, though, we know that.
I can see that.
Orange is not your color.
Yeah, it's not. Shame.
My last thing, I thought this was hilarious, was when the dad goes to buy nice luggage for Diane for her study abroad. He's flirting with the sales lady. They are kind of hitting it off.
Yeah.
Even the guy waiting in line has noticed and makes a face. The dad goes to pay. Card's declined, tries another card. Card also declined. I understand that all of that is quite embarrassing. It's unfortunate when that happens in public, but what then makes me crazy is after that scene, Diane goes into the house, has been made aware by the tax guy that her dad is probably hiding money in the house and that he's probably guilty. She kind of spirals, goes looking for money, and finds a chest full of cash.
Yeah.
Why did he go to pay for luggage with a credit card when you got that much cash? Wouldn't you just be paying for everything in cash?
No, Jasmine, because it's her money that she's going to need when she comes back from England.
He's spending it on her if he buys her luggage.
Exactly. It's so stupid.
That whole thing, I was just like, okay, well, fine.
Also with that scene, the woman who's like, I'm supposed to confiscate your card, but I'm just going to give it back to you. What's the point of that? It's not like he can use it anyway.
Yeah.
What are you achieving by not taking the card? Like the same thing is going to happen if he tries to use it anywhere else.
Yeah, weird.
Well,
that brings us to
Fun Fab Fail. I'm so confused.
This is kind of another Crazy Rich Asians for me, where I think as a rom-com, it's fine.
Yeah.
But as a film in isolation, I think it's pretty fab.
Yeah. The only thing that I wrote down was featuring fraud. I think where I got stuck on is that I think it's a great film. I don't really think it's a rom-com. It's not fun to watch.
Yeah.
They're fun parts, they're funny elements to it. But I think it's a great film. I understand why it's so beloved and why it's such a classic.
I just don't think it's a rom-com.
No.
And so I don't understand why everyone says it's one of the greatest rom-coms of all time.
Yeah.
Because it's a very good movie, not a rom-com.
I would love to hear from people who have watched this several times and how they experience it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because watching it for the first time as an adult, several years after it's been made, great film, not a rom-com.
Yeah, I think it starts as a rom-com. I
Yeah.
think the A-plot is their romance up until the tax fraud shows up, and then that becomes the A-plot.
Yeah.
Her figuring out what that means for the relationship she has with her father,
Mhm.
not the relationship she has with Lloyd.
It shifts the whole focus of the film.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to see how I feel watching it again, knowing all of this, and not how I did this time, which was trying to figure out the plot as it pertains to their relationship. Because if it was more rom-com-y, I feel we missed seeing them meet and building the initial start of the relationship.
Yeah.
We sort of start with him already like kind of obsessed with her.
We needed to start at the mall.
Yeah, we needed to start at the mall. We needed to see that first, what he calls date, and see how much truth there is into that. Like, it would have been so fun to see that exchange, because then we get her perspective as well. And then we would see him talking to his friends about it, but we as the audience know what it was really like, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And see a little bit more what he likes about her, other than just, you know, she's so great, she's so intelligent, she's so pretty. So then it's more satisfying when they get together, and like more gut-wrenching, because we get to see a little bit more of them from start to finish.
Yep.
Another thing that's sort of added to the tonality of not being a rom-com is the fact that the title, Diane and her dad both say that to each other, but Diane and Lloyd never do.
Which just secondarily emphasizes the fact that the main relationship is the father-daughter relationship and not the romantic one.
Absolutely. But yeah, it was kind of weird to me that say anything is never said to Diane and Lloyd. You could have worked that in.
Truly. Fab movie in isolation for me. Fine rom-com, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give it a fail because I think the movie itself is great.
No, it's definitely not a fail. Not at all.
Yeah.
Like, even as a rom-com, it doesn't fail.
No.
I agree with that. Well,
That brings us to...
our favorite section. Give me the cheese, please.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to jump in?
Oh, yes.
3,
2,
2,
1. Drinking
goat
yogurt.
cheese with cranberries.
Okay, I think I went first with Crazy Rich Asians, so you go first.
Okay, great. I've got baked goat cheese with cranberries. Big vibes.
Strong vibes.
It is a goat cheese, something that can be very fresh, a little bit sweet, a little bit tart. I feel like the start of this end of high school romance is actually quite sweet. I think they kind of nailed it tonally in regards to high schoolers being kind of awkward and weird.
Yeah.
I like the way he checks in on her at the party, the way that she appreciates that he checks in on her at the party. I think everything about the setup in that way and how they complement each other actually kind of like makes for a lovely little romance. But it is a little bitey. It's got the discomfort of him going a little bit incel before realizing what a mistake it is. I added the cranberries so that it could just also be sour. And the sour note is like this dad and his fucking tax fraud. It really changes the tone of everything. I thought I was having a fun time, and now it's sour. Like probably what's going through Diane's head.
Yeah.
Everything was going fine, and now it's sour. And I'm not saying that it's bad. I like cranberries, but you should be expecting them.
Time and place.
And then lastly, the baked element is because all of those items in the house that were purchased with fraud money are hot. And that's why it's baked. That's all I've got.
I love it. It's so funny. So I picked drinking yogurt. I didn't pick a cheese because I don't feel like this film is a rom-com.
Yeah.
But I wanted to choose something dairy adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like drinking yogurt was really prevalent while I was growing up. It has the association of high school with me, like this one brand especially that I don't even know if it exists anymore.
Yeah.
Yogi Sip, the sip snap that keeps you going. Like, it just feels of its time. And like you said, they did the end of high school element really well. Like, these people feel like real teenagers and they respond in the very heightened, messy way teenagers do.
Mm-hmm.
And then drinking yogurt isn't the most pleasurable way to experience either yogurt or a milkshake.
Yeah.
Like, just texturally, it's kind of confusing to your brain to be drinking it, which is kind of how I felt with the tonal shift from like the tax fraud stuff and the drama with the dad. And I'm just like, where's my sweet treat?
Yeah.
You know, where's just the straight up sweetness, not this weird texture that I'm trying to grapple with in my mouth, this weird tonal shift that I'm trying to grapple with in my brain. Like we said as well, this movie really feels like the 80s. I think it's a really good snapshot of what that was like. The same way drinking yogurt, it's not at the forefront of culture the way it used to be, but like it's embedded in it.
We don't call it drinking yogurt really anymore anyway.
Oh yeah? What do you call it now?
Oh, my one from last week, kefir.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. So I think that's all.
I love it.
I don't feel quite as unhinged as I did in watching Moonstruck and Simply Irresistible.
No, it doesn't feel unhinged.
It's just not expecting the hard tonal shift, but still an enjoyable experience.
Well,
Okie dokes.
there you have it. That was our discussion of Say Anything.
Let us know your thoughts on the movie, any shenanigans we may have missed, or what cheese you think it is.
You can follow us on Instagram at shenanigansensuepod, or you can email us at shenanigansensuepod@gmail.com.
We hope you'll join us next time, and until then...
Nobody thinks it'll work, do they?
No, you just described every great success story.
Bye. I'm still mad that they dinged at the end of the film.
Same.
Leave us on a cliffhanger.
Like Inception.
Yeah.
Is it gonna ding or not?
I don't think the plane is gonna crash.
No.
I just want you to leave me in suspense about their relationship.
Exactly. Metaphorical.
I imagine they did this with test audiences, and the test audiences got really upset.
Shame, maybe they just felt this poor girl needed emotional stability.